This 20th century edition of an early work gives me special pleasure. None of my novels ever had a less promising start than The City Boy did. I had no reason to think then that it would survive 2 months, let alone 2 decades. Just a year before, with a noisy splash, I had entered the American literary frog pond. My first novel, Aurora Dawn, a short, facetious spoof of radio broadcasting, had caught a publisher's fancy. He launched it with a blast of ecstatic advertising. In quick obedience to Newton's third law, critics blasted back. All this dazed me. A Naval Reserve officer, I had written Aurora Dawn during the Pacific War, to while away boring hours at sea. I had never before published so much as a short story in a magazine. For my livelihood, before the war, I had been writing for the great radio comedian Fred Allen. I did not know enough about the literary world to object to the overblown launching, nor to expect the counterattack. It was quite a debut. When the dust settled, I had in hand a Book of the Month selection of my first novel, a modest sale, and a literary reputation demolished before it was built. New authors, fuming over insufficient advertising of their masterpieces, might ponder this true tale. But there I was, a professional novelist, if a somewhat black and blue one. I wrote The City Boy, and found real delight in the task. If I have a favorite creation, to this day it is the fat little hero, Herbie Bookbinder. My publisher, sent back by the critics' onslaught, and perhaps convinced that no novel with Jewish characters could sell — this was a general opinion 20 years ago — launched the work as one buries a body at sea. The City Boy slid off the plank, and with scarcely a ripple, went bubbling down. At the same time, a novel appeared called The Naked and the Dead, the first big fiction work on the Second World War, written by a youngster of 26, yet bitingly mature, and full of what people then considered shocking language. Soon afterward, my sister threw a party for me, featuring a cake baked like the City Boy volume. Not one guest had read or even heard of my book. Virtually all of them had read or were reading The Naked and the Dead, and wanted to discuss it with me. What an ordeal that party was! And when the book of the hour is that good, one cannot console oneself by sneering at the low taste of public and critics. Such transparent envy is a worse disgrace than silence. So Herbie died, or seemed to. No club selected the book, nobody bought it, almost nobody reviewed it. The remainder shops were piled with this novel, while I was still reading scattered out-of-town notices. Amazingly, a film producer did stumble on a copy, and I salvaged from the wreck a small payment for movie rights. Hollywood proceeded to change the fat Jewish boy to a thin Irish girl, and the Bronx to a Midwestern town. The City Boy in films became The Romantic Age, starring Margaret O'Brien. I did not see it. I have never met anybody who did. Alas, total disaster with a second book, a very usual thing. Still, I now had a family, and I had come to love the fiction art. I thought I had better have one more shot at the target. I wrote another novel. My habit was, and still is, to read my work chapter by chapter to a discerning, lovely, but taciturn wife. Once she suddenly remarked, when I was reading aloud an early scene in that story, "If they don't like this one, you had better try some other line of business." The book was The Cane Mutiny. Meantime, Aurora Dawn and The City Boy had gone out of print, and I had a new publisher. He liked Herbie Bookbinder, and decided to bring the book back to light. That was 16 years ago. The publishing history of The City Boy since then records several reprintings, translations into 11 languages, club selections, and usage in school textbooks and anthologies. But for many reasons...